to Around Comics.
And you are also watching live on Around Comics, YouTube or Facebook, Twitter. We're a little early.
YouTube, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, YouTube?
My dog, I'm sorry, my dog is upset because the other dog is in the room. So there's conflict, there's drama happening.
Shut those dogs up.
It's one is maybe going to get more attention than the other. It's a horrible sight here at the Niesman Conlon household.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
You know, you're so unprofessional. Dogs in the studio. This would never happen. This would never happen to the Eagles. This would
What?
The Beatles wouldn't let dogs in the studio.
Oh, it's okay.
They're
Music references. Yes.
You didn't have dogs in Abbey Road Studios.
No, they didn't.
Just drugs.
Hi, how are you doing, sir?
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Yeah? It's Tuesday.
How are you? It is Tuesday. I almost have a bathroom back. Almost.
Nice.
Not quite.
Nice. My wife and I are fighting. She has about a 20-degree temperature variance that, in the wintertime, it's if the house gets to be like 62, she says, put on a sweater or get a blanket. And in the summertime, if it's like 80 degrees in the house like it is right now, she's like, man up. It's not that bad. So her comfort level,
this woman?
her comfort level is somewhere between 62 and 79 degrees. I'm getting
What kind of a monster? What kind of a monster are you married to?
I know, right?
God.
I'm sorry. We're gonna change the subject. I'm getting some major side eye coming out of the
Did
hallway.
Marta travel through time from the 1800s? Was she living in Middle Ages? Who needs modern things like heat and air conditioning? We don't need
air conditioning. Overrated.
You just use a block of ice for your refrigerator too, or just salt meat? Which one?
We dug a hole and we keep it. We dug a hole 25 feet deep in our backyard. That's where we keep our preserved meats and cheeses.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Now I understand why you got into jarring stuff like pickling things. You had to because you had no modern conveniences. You're living the fucking Amish.
Well, it gives me a reason to go down into the basement, which is actually cool.
The cellar. Tell the truth. Marta makes you sleep in the cellar.
Yes, Marta does make me sleep in the cellar. I'll probably be sleeping in the cellar tonight.
You gotta quiet that dog down.
Yeah, she says, screw that. I'm sleeping in the cellar. It's cooler.
Turn on the fucking air.
I know. Or we can just turn the air on.
You just click. It goes on. It
doesn't cost any money.
Cools the house down.
So I actually don't get kicked out of the house. Let's go ahead and talk about some comics. For all of the Tom Caters fans, don't worry, he'll be here later. It's my way to keep him around. Keep stringing him along. Oh yeah, Tom will be here in just a minute. It's
sure.
yeah. It's no. Tom is taking the week off because he is on a secret mission, working for the MI5. I'm segueing to Pennyworth here, but
British.
He's British.
We didn't know this. Tom's always been British.
Wouldn't that be hilarious if he actually comes on next week with a British accent? He's like, I've been faking it all these years.
Fucking spy, man. Tom Caters spy.
So Tom will be back next week. But if you'd like to get a little extra Tom Caters fix, you can do so by joining our Patreon. You can become a patron, which is over at patreon.com/aroundcomics. And Tom has been bringing back the Tom Versus and just released Tom versus the Freedom Fighters #4 this last week. So
yes,
go check that out. And Sal and I. Oh yeah.
Speaking of, I need to put a retraction in from ACTV on Sunday. You misspoke, my friend.
Oh, did I? That's no surprise.
You said that, and I thought at the time I was going to question it, but I didn't really want to. I didn't know for sure, and I really didn't want to argue it. But you had said that The Toxic Avenger was a comic book first, and that's not true in any way, shape, or
Oh, really? Now, see,
no,
I thought it was the movie first and then a comic.
it was a movie in 1984, and
Uh-huh.
then in the 90s, like 1991, 92, Marvel Comics published like 12 issues of the Toxic Avenger based on the movie.
Okay.
But there was probably 2 or 3 Toxic Avenger movies out before the comic book. So
I am incorrect and stand corrected. Thank you, Sal, and the immersive research department at Around Comics.
it was just kind of nagging me. I'm like, I don't think that was right. I don't think he was
Okay,
right.
yeah, my bad. I always thought it was. I was always under the impression that it was a comic to movie property.
And the only reason I kind of knew that was because I follow what's his name from Tromaville, the guy that wrote it, and
Okay.
The schlock master. Well, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he's a really interesting, weird dude on Twitter.
I'm shocked.
Yeah,
right. An interesting, weird dude. This came up when on our ACTV episode, which this past week we were talking about Marvel's What If animated series, and we kind of decided that we're gonna do a crossover here the next couple of weeks with What If, and also talking about Titans, which is on HBO Max.
Yes, HBO Max now. I don't think it exists on DC, whatever that was.
DC anymore. Universe, DC Ultimate. Yeah, that's just their comic platform. But I had mentioned the Elijah Wood interview on Hot Ones, and he said that his next project is the Toxic Avenger.
That's interesting. I wouldn't. Well, he's made some weird movies. I mean, he's done some odd stuff. So
yeah, and I really like Elijah Wood.
I'll wait for the trailer. I don't know.
There you go. Speaking of
the trailer,
there was a trailer.
Oh,
that came out. Oh yeah, we should. If we have the chance, we can wait for Tom to be here. But the trailer for Why the Last Man.
Out. Yeah, it did come out. I have already watched it. I didn't think about doing it on here, but yeah, we could do that one time next week if you want.
Yeah.
Before we move on from Patreon, I did want to give a couple of shout outs to some new patrons that have signed up, and thank you for signing up on patreon.com/aroundcomics. So thank you, Hassan, thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Carl. All 3 of you signed up in the last couple of weeks here to the Patreon, and we hope you're enjoying all of the bonus content that we're putting out there, even all my Big Geek Show episodes that I put out, like 10 a week. It seems I just talk a lot because why not? Why can't I? Nobody can stop me. I'm in my car. I have a microphone, and no one can stop me from talking and putting out episodes. But thank you guys. So thank you, Carl, Hassan, and what was the third name? I forgot the third name already. Kevin? No, yes, Kevin, Hassan, and Carl. Thank you all for being patrons. We really do appreciate it.
And our diligent every week YouTube viewer, Wayne, asks, are you thinking about Lloyd Kaufman?
Yes, that's exactly who I was thinking about, Wayne. Lloyd Kaufman.
By the way, whenever I mentioned the Around Comics research team, I was talking about Wayne.
Wayne, yeah.
Wayne, always there to double check us.
Lloyd Kaufman was the co-writer, I think, of the original Toxic Avenger, and then he's pretty much kept that franchise alive, I think. And he does other like B films and weird. I mean, all that stuff. Lots of
Roma stuff.
Lots of naked women and weird stuff. That's his forte. But his Twitter is interesting. It's kind of like a deconstructed B movie. It's just like frame by frame of what he posts. It's sort of like you could probably put it together as some sort of weird grindhouse film or something.
That might be in the works. I read a few comics this week, and it kind of dovetails a little bit into our TV talk. Because this is definitely inspired by a recent TV show on Epix, or as I like to say around the household, e-picks. Pennyworth, #1 from DC. Check that out, and it is kind of a weird, not that's a bad way to put it. It's a little bit of a mashup between the DC universe, Alfred Pennyworth that we know, even kind of leaning on some of his history as a spy, but also the Pennyworth from the TV show on Epix, which I loved the first season, and the second season was it may require a second viewing, but it took a really weird direction in the second season. It kind of embraced the comic book weirdness that the first season kind of didn't really lean on too hard. It takes place in the Batverse, but they never really leaned into it hard until like the last episode of the first season. And then the second season just completely went into alternate universe like weirdness. And so this comic kind of skirts that line. It's written by Scott Barry Wilson with art by Juan Gedeon and John Roush. I mentioned John Roush because I really did like the colors in this. It tries to set up Alfred. It actually does a very good job of setting up Alfred as a James Bond-like British super spy, and gets into Alfred's, history from, his time as a spy with MI5. And then it flashes back to him as a kid, and then it flashes forward to present day old Alfred, and then flashes back to the 1960s spy Alfred. It gets to a point where I think there's probably like one flashback too many, where it actually becomes a little distracting in the story. And it acts the entire time like a fun spy thriller. But then you also have present day Alfred, who's been kidnapped and is waiting for rescue because he lets it known through this narrative that he has for 40 years or 30 plus years sent a message to a former colleague, Dave Boy, from the TV show, that everything is okay. They basically send a blind message, which is, in present day is a text with no subject to it, but it's just a message that all is clear. And if that message doesn't get sent, then they know that the other person is either dead or in trouble. And so Dave Boy is coming to find older Alfred interspersed with these old spy stories, kind of about Alfred's history and origin, and former love interest who was also a spy. So yeah, if you like spy stories, I enjoyed it. If you like the Alfred TV show, I liked it.
Alfred. Yeah, I really liked the first season of Pennyworth. I thought it was really good. And then,
how much of the second season? You just kind of petered out, didn't you?
Yeah, I watched about 4 episodes, and it was so strange and
weird.
Yeah, just I mean, it really reminded me that the people that made Gotham were also the producers, some of them on this. And as much as I liked Gotham, the TV show, it was extremely weird and really took a lot of, variations, or sort of just, left turns away from anything that we kind of knew as Batman-esque or Gotham City or that kind of thing. I didn't mind it so much with that show, and I may not have minded it so much with this show if that's how it started, but that's not how the first season. First season was such a good British espionage, show.
Until was it the last episode that it
got a little weird. Yeah,
it took that where was the last episode of the first season, sorry, spoilers, folks, was that where they revealed that no, it wasn't. Yeah, the first season was pretty consistent. It was,
well, it ended with the guy, I can't think of his name, the dude whose face is now all messed up, and he's got, but I mean, the last couple of episodes, that was part of it in the first season. So it did start to get weird in the first season.
It's when they brought his dad back as kind of like the wheelchair robotic, you know.
Oh, I see. I didn't even know that they did that. I didn't get
that's
that
when
far.
It took a really weird turn.
Wow, that's way weirder.
Oh
yeah, that's too bad.
The end of season 2 fucking goes off the rails with it. They basically create Mr. Freeze out of one of the characters. It gets
I don't get it. I don't understand why. Like, you could have told 10 seasons of Alfred as just a spy, as just a sort of, you know, secret agent. Not even, he's not even a spy.
He was almost a fucking
security
gangster. He was a gangster.
You could just tell that story. I mean, you know, he was basically a what's his name? What's the actor? No, but what's the actor?
Oh, Michael Caine.
He was a Michael Caine movie from the 60s. Like, that's what that show was, and it was so good. It didn't need to be anything more than that. So it's kind of a shame that they fiddled with it so much. I don't get it.
I feel like they aimed really high in season 1, hit the mark, and then tried to somehow aim higher and did not. But that's okay.
What are you gonna do?
Watch other things. Watch
other stuff that you like more so.
Yeah.
Well, I read a good book. Defenders. It's by a writer that I've never talked about before.
Never talked badly about.
I've never talked badly about him before. Yeah, no. It's all Al Ewing month, I think, for us. Like, we're talking about Al Ewing books. Oops.
We'll mention trade talks after this.
Yeah. But I was always a Defenders fan, like back in the day, Bronze Age Defenders books and that kind of stuff. So I didn't even know this was coming out. I guess it was teased in like 2019 in the book Marvel 1000. Apparently, I had read that. I didn't know that, but apparently this was teased, the sort of reforming of the Defenders. And I was always a Defenders fan. I always liked the Defenders because I felt like they were they just weren't the Avengers. You know what I mean?
They were the B team.
They were kind of the B team, but it was like Ghost Rider, but you had the
Valkyrie and Hulk, and it was like basically everyone that had either like not made the cut as an Avenger or just didn't want to deal with being an Avenger. It's like you can't say that like Silver Surfer's power set isn't good enough to put him in the Avengers. He's just kind of weird. And so Defenders I guess that was the appeal for me growing up, is that was the super team for like weirdos and outcasts and misfits.
Yeah, the Avengers were sort of like, you know, the
jocks.
Yeah, they were the superstars. They were the all-stars. They were the best and the best, you know, and it's like, that's fine, but
they were Cobra Kai.
Yeah. Exactly. We needed Miyagi-Do karate at some point, and the Defenders were sort of those guys. They weren't as good. Well, anyway, so this book came out. It was a surprise to me, and of course, you know, I like the Defenders and I like Al Ewing's work, and I also really like Javier Rodriguez's art, and that was
super cool, super nice.
And that really stood out to me throughout this entire book. We can
look at that page.
There's a preview. If you haven't joined our Substack and you're not watching this, but you're only listening to this podcast, we have a Substack blog sort of newsletter thing that's at aroundcomics.substack.com. And so I posted a kind of a review of this with a 7-page preview. So you can look at the preview of Defenders on that as well.
That's a pretty page.
Absolutely gorgeous art, and it worked, I thought, absolutely brilliantly with Al Ewing's sort of skewed perspective on superhero comics.
Yeah, you kind of want an Al Ewing Doctor Strange book now, don't you?
Yeah, I really do.
Yeah.
I think he's just weird enough and smart enough that it would be pretty lights out to do one. But this is very heavily a Doctor Strange book. At least this first issue is very much a Doctor Strange book from the standpoint that I love, like, right off the bat, he gets a visitor that he doesn't know. Someone sort of breaks in, sort of warps into the...
Hey, Will Eisner.
Yeah. Oh, right. And this is a 2-page spread. You can't really see it in this preview, but this is 2-page spread. And
it's like J.H. Williams meets Eisner, right?
Yeah. Yes. And it also has, like, who is the artist that did? Remember Marcos Martin? It has some Marcos Martin in it as well. I feel like, but really pretty and works really well with this story, which is basically the masked, what's his name? God damn it, now I can't think of it. The masked raider pops into the Sanctum Sanctorum, and he initially, you know, like every good superhero comic, you kind of have a fight between him and Doctor Strange, and then Doctor Strange quickly realizes this guy has something powerful. He's a powerful being. He's wearing this mask that is actually a part of the being eternity. So he can sort of, yes, he's very powerful. He can sort of fight Doctor Strange with his own magic, even though he doesn't have the training to do it. And then they soon come to an understanding, and the Masked Raider explains he's not there to fight with him, but there's a problem. He's been chasing down a time travel magic that's gone awry.
That is the most Marvel of comic setups ever.
Oh, right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's perfect. You know, I mean, that's just how they start. But one of the things I really dug about this was the way Al Ewing sort of talked about magic and had Doctor Strange talking about magic. He was, interestingly enough, using tarot cards, which was really interesting to me, because it's like I never really associated Doctor Strange with tarot cards. Like, Marvel magic is different to me than, like, everyday magic, like tarot cards or
tarot cards seem below. They seem beneath him.
Yeah. Well, in this, they definitely are not. He actually uses them, and you know, I can't do it justice. You kind of have to read the book to understand it, but he does it in a way where he explains sort of what Doctor Strange is doing. Doctor Strange is sort of narrating his own actions as he's using these tarot cards to put together the defenders. And it's a dangerous thing. Like, it's not a simple thing. He talks about, like, magic always has a price. And what he's doing with these tarot cards is he's re-guiding these people's destiny. And it's very powerful people as well. The Silver Surfers, the first one he gets. And with the tarot cards, he's sort of re-guiding their destiny. And that's a powerful thing. And it's going to come around at some point and extract a price for having done that. Yeah, but he has to do it. There's always a price. And so it's a very unique, interesting way of sort of putting this team together. So it's Silver Surfer, Betsy Ross, who's now Red Harpy, the Masked Raider.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, she's from the Hulk. If you read Al, she was kind of, that happened to her in Al Ewing's Hulk run.
Okay.
So
Immortal Hulk run.
Yeah, Immortal Hulk, which is coming to an end. Doctor Strange, the Masked Raider, who I don't know really much about, and then a character called Cloud, who is apparently incredibly powerful as well, and sort of
cosmic-y.
Yeah, very cosmic-y. But it was a really interesting way for him to put this team together and sort of also kind of re-explain how magic works a little bit in the Marvel universe in a very Al Ewing kind of way.
I'm starting to see. Okay, I see what he's doing. You've got Doctor Strange, you've got Silver Surfer, the Red Harpy. Is that who she is?
Yeah, instead of Hawk.
That's kind of the Hulk, and then the masked who?
The Masked Raider.
Okay, that's your Ghost Rider.
Yeah, I would say.
And then Cloud is your Valkyrie.
Probably, yeah, somewhere in there. Well, somebody asked. Sean Burris asked, "No Nighthawk."
That's
the Red Harpy. She's got wings, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he intentionally tried to sort of make it like the original team or not, but it's a really powerful team, and they're going to need to be, because who they end up, you find out at the end of the issue who they're going up against, and it's a very interesting. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but it's a very powerful character.
So it's a Mephisto Galactus team up.
I don't want to give anything away.
Could be on that power scale.
Could be on that power scale. Absolutely. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, Galactus. If you mentioned Galactus, it's somewhere along those lines. So.
Gotcha.
But it was really good.
They're finally someone is taking on the fucking Watcher. It's about time.
The Watcher didn't do anything. Come on. But it was really good. I mean, I know I'm a big Al Ewing fan, and I'm sort of a as the kids say, a simp for Al Ewing.
You are approaching like Greg Rucka level. With your love for this guy. Tom's going to start talking about you lighting candles and taking bubble baths thinking about Al Ewing.
I don't need to be Al Ewing's friend or anything. I really like his work. I like how he looks at comic books. I like how his perspective on these characters that have been around for a long time. I loved what he did with the Hulk, because I think he's obviously a comic book fan. He's obviously has knowledge of the history of these characters and appreciates it, but he wants to do something new and different, and he's done that with the Hulk, and now I think he's doing it with the Defenders and Doctor Strange, and I'm really interested to see what he does with like a character like Silver Surfer.
What I like about him is that there are some, and this is not a knock on, I don't want to call them one-trick pony writers, but there are some writers that are really good at telling a specific kind of story. Yeah. Then there are guys like Jeff Lemire who can tell sci-fi, Western, superhero, whatever. It's why Alan Moore is the GOAT, is because he can dominate any genre that you throw at him. And Al Ewing seems to be able to do that, because I'm seeing him write different types of genre, which brings me to our Trade Talks, which is our kind of book of the month club, which we are now trying to do monthly. Mm-hmm.
I got to play the trailer if we're gonna talk Trade Talk.
You were so proud of yourself whenever you made that. I'm Chris, and I'm here to talk about We Only Find Them When They're Dead on Trade Talks. This is my Trade Talk. Yes. So we Only Find Them When They're Dead is this month's Trade Talk. You can order that from your favorite online, or go into your favorite LCS as a $9.99 price tag for Volume 1, or you can do what a lot of us do and read it on the Hoopla. It's on the Hoopla.
The Hoopla.
Go support your local library and get your card and read comics for free on Hoopla.
Yeah, Hoopla's awesome. I've already finished that. I already read it. I'm ready to talk about it. I may read it again by the time we talk about it at the end of the month.
It's amazing how fast we can get to a Trade Talk when it's not 12 issues of 1980s Legion of Superheroes.
Speaking of that, so whose pick is it after you? It's my pick, right? I guess so. I better start talking.
I'm expecting you're going to pick the Howard the Duck Omnibus.
Oh no! What if the What If Omnibus? We were talking about that, so I think we should do that. The What If, it's only like 575 pages or something.
It's funny. Back in the day, we did have one of the original What If authors or writers on Around Comics. I don't know if you remember that.
Don Glut.
Don Glut. Yeah.
Ah, look at that. I guessed that. I didn't know. I just
did.
was thinking, like, I bet it's Don Glut because he seems like he would be the what if writer.
Yeah, so some of those what if stories where, you know, it was probably some of the, like, what if Bucky was Captain America, you know, that seems like a Don Glut kind of, you know, it's like basically I think they probably came to him and say, you know, Stan is like, Don, we you know, we need you to write a story that what if Bucky was Captain America, and Don would say, well, that's kind of stupid, but okay. My favorite memory,
$40.
yeah, it was $40 a story. So
that's all I can afford. Now let me get in my private helicopter and go to Los Angeles.
When we had Don on the show, and he was a super nice guy, really very interesting to talk to.
I would say Don Glut was a gentleman.
Don Glut was an absolute gentleman, and it was fun kind of hearing about Marvel in the 70s, you know, into the early 80s. But the reason we really had Don on the show was because he was one of the you know, hired gun writers for the Masters of the Universe stuff. And so, you know, the way that he tells it, he is the one that named Castle Grayskull, and he wrote a lot of the backstory for the Masters of the Universe stuff. And I'll never forget how sad Tim Seeley was whenever he was at Dark Tower, super excited to talk to Don, because Tim and his brother are huge Masters of the Universe fans, and he was super geeked up to talk to Don about this. And Don is like, it was a job. and Tim, you could just see, like, 12-year-old Tim Seeley was just crushed by this revelation that it was just a gig.
I just needed some cash. I had just gotten divorced. I needed some cash quick, and
I was going through a divorce.
Somebody wanted a story about toys. I don't know what. Yeah. Listen, this bourbon isn't going to pay for itself.
Pretty bad. Yeah. Oh, that was.
Well, the funny thing was I don't remember how we got Don on the show or why.
He came in. He's a Chicago guy.
No, I know that, but it was
Beatty. He went into Dark Tower, and Mark Beatty told him about the show, and then Don's like, "Oh, I'd sit in on that." So yeah, Mark Beatty.
Well,
sent him to us.
I think when he first came on the show, he was talking about the movie he had made, whatever, Dracula or whatever the hell it was, and I had no idea he was a comic book writer. I didn't know who Don Glut was. I had no idea, but he was terrific to talk to, for sure. I think those episodes I've actually recently posted those on the feed now. I'm trying to post all the back episodes. Yeah, but
there's a lot of them. What are we on? We're getting close to 383. Heck, we're gonna get dangerously close to 400 episodes here.
Right?
How is it not like 1,000 episodes? It feels like I've done at least 1,000 episodes with you.
I mean, well, here's the thing. We have probably another 200 episodes that are not official Around Comics episodes. They're like bonus episodes and book of the month and blah, 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 and this and that and the other. So we have probably more episodes than the 383, but we didn't number them all that way. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. Who knows?
Well, Joe Galuzik, I hope I didn't butcher that too bad, says he was a good guest.
He was a good guy.
Yeah.
He was a good fella. I remember. Oh wait, I can't do Stan. I can only do, I have to remember. It's funny. The only time I can remember how to do my Stan Lee impersonation, which isn't great, but I think I was trying to get better at it, is if I actually remember when I met him and he said, "Oh, this is terrific. You should send this to Marvel." And then it clicks for me. Once I hear that in my head, it's like Don Glut. Yeah, I know. It doesn't.
Yeah, Sean Burris once say, listen, this bourbon isn't going to pay for itself t-shirt. And I agree.
That's right. Comics.
Wow, we're getting all of the AC faithful are out tonight. There must not be any baseball games on or anything.
something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something.
Oh, and you're right. Thanks for posting that on Facebook, because yeah, the Cubs and Reds for the Dyersville Field of Dreams. What a horrible goddamn choice. Both those teams are going to lose up 200 games combined next year. Right now, I don't know if the Cubs could win 20 games.
As soon as I saw that, I
what a bullshit. But I mean, I'm bummed that the Cardinals didn't make that game last year with the White Sox, but
now they're out of it.
Make it the Red Sox and Dodgers. Make it two teams that actually give a fuck about winning a game.
Wow. I don't want to get into this. I don't want to get into this argument. I know this is a touchy subject. I was just bringing up the fact that your Cardinals were not going to be in the Field of Dreams game. I'm upset because I think the White Sox should be in it every year, but that's.
Oh, but
all right. What else?
Chicago team. All right. Mention Tim Seeley real quick. I did read Suicide Squad, King Shark.
Oh, I meant to read that. I did not. I did not read. Was it good?
Fun. Everyone's loving the King Shark now that the movie is out. So, it's a funny story. It's a like an F-list villain. It's a Suicide Squad story. Defacer, who I guess is one of Dick Grayson's ex-girlfriends, and doesn't actually have a superpower. She's like a vandal. She does graffiti, like obscene graffiti.
Wow.
Which
send King Shark after her.
No, King Shark really likes her and befriends her, and actually kills another like F-list villain because in prison. And Amanda Waller figures out that she's kind of lost control of King Shark, and the only way that she can control him is by holding this other F-list villain who he likes, holding her, life in the balance. So she gets to go off on this like bananas mission with King Shark, and it's a very Tim Seeley story. It's funny.
Defacer and her mentor Pigeon were known as art terrorists.
Yes.
Due to their attempts to steal and vandalize public statues and icons as a form of protest. Were they stealing like Civil War generals?
No, they're like painting dicks on them.
Wow. Yeah. That is a very Tim Seeley
very Tim Seeley character. And I'm sure that Tim's eyes lit up when he's like, "Oh, and I get a killer?" Suicide Squad, so you assume everyone's gonna die.
I'm gonna be talking to Tim actually this week on the first episode of Origin Stories with Brian Salazar and Tim Seeley. It'll be I'm going to talk to Tim about his first ever published comic book and how he got there. And I can't remember the name of it now. He sent me it.
Is it a G.I. Joe? Whenever
it's something. It was actually a book that crossed over with Savage Dragon. But it's like Bunny. What the? Hold on. I got to look it up because it's too good not to share. What did he sent me like a link to it.
That's awesome, because I think of like his early work. It's like him and Norton working on G.I. Joe when Devil's Due had that property.
Yeah, I think this is before that. So
before early 2000s G.I. Joe.
Yes. All right. Where are my messages? Here we go.
That probably would have been about 2003, 2000.
Okay, so it was called Love Bunny and Mr. Hell #1, and it's available at Barnes and Noble. Strangely enough, I don't know why. You can buy issue #1 on BarnesandNoble.com for 99 cents. But
item.
I don't know who Love Bunny. Love Bunny really wants to meet Savage Dragon, her crime fighting partner, Mr. Hell. Not so much, and it's exactly like it's some sort of weird Cthulhu monster and this girl dressed up in a bunny costume. I don't know. I'm fascinated to know as much as I can find out. So
basically, Tim is writing the same stuff 20 plus years later.
Yes. But we'll find out about all that.
Awesome. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to it because it's a different kind of interview show. It's not the standard questions, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm really going to try and gear this towards just sort of understanding how a writer gets from I have an idea, I want to be a writer, how do I become a writer? Like that's my goal of these interviews is to talk to writers about like, hey, how did you get that first script done? How did you finally get over, and did you have problems getting over anything? Was it was it a struggle? Was it something that came naturally? Was it, how and that I want to take that angle with it. So that's going to be why it's called origin stories.
Most of them will probably piss you off and say, yeah, it's no big deal.
It was nothing. I just
I just did it. I didn't even realize I was doing it. And yeah.
Motherfucker.
Yeah. My girlfriend sent it off to a publisher on a whim and they liked it. And, then I got a check.
Probably. Yeah. That's probably what it'll end. So that'll be, I think, it'll probably be available Friday. I'm talking to him Thursday. So
well, Sean says, I'd listen to that podcast. Well, Sean, guess what? If you're a patron, you're going to be able to put that in your ear holes.
Ear or any hole. You could
hole you
download it and put it wherever you want, really. But you will be able to listen to it probably this week. Probably Friday is my guess. Is when it will come out. That and like 72 more episodes of the Big Geek Show between now and then because I just can't stop talking. I just have many.
Seen you pumping them out.
It's so easy. It's just the easiest thing in the world. I literally just jump in the car. I bought a little clip-on microphone for my hand recorder. I drive 20 minutes, 25 minutes, talk on the way, no breaks. Boom, put it up. It's simple. It's easy. Can't go wrong.
There you go. Nice. Outstanding.
What else?
I made the mistake of trying to read a Grant Morrison comic whenever I was not giving it my full attention. I was sitting in the living room and, Marta and I usually have Jeopardy on, so I'll read a comic and look up and answer a question here or there. And I got like 4 pages into Superman and the Authority #2, and I'm like, oh god damn it, I have to pay attention to this comic book. Proving once again that Grant Morrison can grind me down with his wordplay and thoughtfulness and stuff. Yeah, it's like, oh God, I just want to read dialogue. And I was, and he was getting all like meta and stuff with like an artificial intelligence organism that was based on it based its behavior on the internet. So it was basically this horrible, like body shaming troll. And,
God. Did we actually get to see the Authority yet in the book that's called Superman and the Authority?
Yeah, kind of. I don't know what. So this new super team is the female Steel. So it's Steel's niece, Natasha, Nat. So she's Steel, the new Steel. It's the older Superman. I don't know which universe they're picking this one at. It's like it's like pre-Kingdom Come Superman, but kind of that he's aging, and that's the whole thing, is that he's aging. He's not depowering, but he's like the rest of us. He's doesn't have all the vim and vigor that he did, and so he has to recruit this team. You what?
Speak for yourself.
Hey, yeah. And Manchester Black. He and Manchester Black, which is an interesting pairing. Manchester Black, who definitely reads like an early 2000s Warren Ellis character, but doesn't have a connection to the Authority. They're putting together a team, and so the first one is Steel, and then the next 2 are Apollo and Midnighter. So there's your 2 Authority characters, and then they are recruiting the Enchantress. So it's
the Enchantress,
yeah, like the witch.
Wait, isn't that a Marvel character?
Different Enchantress.
I didn't know DC had a Enchantress as well.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, so it's it's a book.
It's a book.
It's a book.
It's a book.
It is two
A
issues.
book.
It's 2 issues into a Grant Morrison book, and it's 2 issues of getting the team together. So,
Al Ewing did it in half an issue.
Back in the day, half an issue, then you fighting Mole Man or Loki or whoever, and boom, you're on to the next
Back
one.
when I did it, me and Jack,
we
got the team together on the cover.
I want more people to read like Detective Comics number 27. That fucking origin story is 1 fucking page long.
But they told it 700 times.
Yeah. But the origin story, the original origin story for Batman, 1 fucking page.
Yeah, but all the good ones are taken. Like, how do you come up with a good origin story now? It's difficult.
But Al Ewing could do it.
I was thinking about. Well, I read Al Ewing could do it. I'm trying to get I'm gonna try and get Al Ewing on my origin story.
Nice. I would listen to that podcast.
I've emailed him. We just got to find a time and place.
And you've got about a six-ish hour time difference. So
yeah, that's kind of going to be the issue. I don't know how. Either he's got to be up at 3 a.m,
or you're going to be calling him at like noon on Saturday before he has dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I read a book, going back to sort of what you're talking about. I read a book called The Unbelievable Unteens from the World of Black Hammer.
Ooh.
This is Jeff Lemire and Tyler Crook. Nice. It's another Black Hammer spinoff.
Nice. I haven't seen anything from Tyler Crook in a long time. I'm sure he's done stuff. I just haven't noticed it.
Yeah, I don't know what he's been up to. I don't know. This I really like though. It was a fun book. Basically, it's set in the same world as Black Hammer. It's set a little bit a few years ago. I think it was 1997, and it starts off with this woman. Her name is Jane Ito, and she is a comic book artist, and she writes and draws this comic book called The Unbelievable Unteens. And it's this group of heroes, kind of Fantastic Four-ish to some degree. There's I think there is actually 4 of them, and like one of them is sort of a crystal rock monster. One of them is a ghost guy person. One of them is I think a telekinetic. And then the other one, I don't know what the other one does, but she writes and draws this comic, and then one day she's at a comic book convention when the book opens, and then she goes home and she's working on stuff, and all of a sudden someone pops into her room and her apartment, and it's a guy, what she thinks is dressed like one of the characters from her book. She thinks it's like a weird fan, you know what I mean, like dressed up in cosplay and creeping into the room, but he then tells her and tries to explain to her that no, I'm actually the character from the Unteens. We were real, and you were our leader. And
cool.
Yeah. We all forgot about it, and and but we got to go find the rest of the team. So that's sort of the setup for it. So
I mean, is that just the world of Black Hammer? It's just like, nobody remembers what the fuck is going on.
It kind of feels that way. Yeah, it sort of seems like. Well, I think.
Yeah.
And I got it again from this book. I think with Black Hammer, there was certainly, as that series kind of went along, there was this interesting thing that Jeff Lemire planted into it of sort of this meta textual idea or fabric that he kind of weaved into it of like he is the god of this universe.
Yes.
You know what I mean, like and he's playing with these people that are super powered, but they're real people at the same time, kind of thing. You know what I mean, like he kind of built that into the Black Hammer to some degree. So I think this is just another way, I almost get the feeling like he has a much bigger story in his head about the Black Hammer universe. You know what I mean? I think it seems that way. Like he's slowly sort of putting it out there. So yeah, it was interesting that it was sort of another group of heroes that don't remember that they were heroes, kind of a thing. So we'll see where it goes. But I really like the first issue.
Well, he's always been a guy that is just so good at building worlds so quickly. You know, it's like going back to like the Essex County stuff. He created this kind of immersive world that, you know, within a couple of pages, you're there, you're transported to. He's just an incredibly effective world builder. And Black Hammer is, you know, kind of his, you know, I don't want to say, you know, his magnum opus, but, you know, it's he has created a very expansive world. And it's, you know, probably since Hellboy, you know, I don't know if anyone has, you know, done something this like big in scope.
Well, it's interesting because I mean, he's sort of secretly just recreated the Marvel universe. You know what I mean? Like he's created his own little Marvel universe, and
a lot of DC. There's a lot of DC. You know,
both. Yeah, I mean, he's these characters are not all that unique in first glance. You know what I mean? They're analogs for other characters and ciphers for Marvel or DC heroes. But he's playing, you know, it's like this is the stories that he would like to write maybe with the Fantastic Four, or these are the stories that he would write with the Avengers if he was writing the Avengers. But nobody's probably going to let him do that. Nobody's going to let him write the story that he wants to write about the Avengers necessarily. You know what I mean? So
then he got big enough to say, "Fuck it, I'm doing it. I'm calling it a dark horse."
I mean, well, that's an interesting thing. I don't know if we want to go down this road or not, but you know, the whole Substack thing, which I don't even know if you're really familiar with it at all.
No, I need
you don't really, you don't really pay attention to a lot of that stuff. But a couple of weeks ago, Substack, which we have a Substack I've talked about around comics.com.
I saw a story about people self-publishing through Substack. Is that right?
Yeah, well, it all started with Tinian, John Tinian the Fourth. Apparently, he was set to re-sign his exclusive deal with DC Comics. He's been writing Batman and a couple of other books for DC, and they were gonna sign him to another exclusive 3-year deal. But then, through some back channel sort of thing, someone else having a conversation with the people that run the blogging platform Substack, and I did a whole Big Geek Show episode on this. If you're really interested, I talk about it for about a half hour. But anyway, so somebody else in comics sort of was talking with Substack about the idea of using their platform to self-publish comics, to do basically web comics, but in regular comic book format, releasing them on their digital platform.
Okay. Well, that's
I don't know why.
That's kind of like the BKV, Brian K. Vaughan. Isn't that what?
Yeah, kind of. He has his own sort of thing, but this just sort of opens it up for anyone to do it. And but it's a little different too, because it's kind of like Patreon, where you just sign up for a monthly fee. And then they publish whatever they're going to publish. And so like, but with Tinian at least, and I think with Scott Snyder and maybe Scotty Young now is on there. Scotty's doing I Hate Fairyland. The next version of I Hate Fairyland is going to be on there. So you pay a monthly fee and they sort of, you know, print whatever. But with Tinian, at least I don't know about anyone else, but with him, he's being paid. He was given money by Substack to sort of become a publisher, to not only publish his own books, but curate other creators and do the same thing. So they're sort of getting into the publishing, but they're not. And the nice thing about Substack for creators, at least, is they own everything. Substack owns nothing. They don't have any rights to the books or anything that's published.
It's probably just take a cut out of the subscription.
I would imagine they take a cut of the monthly subscription.
Well, just like Patreon does with us. Whenever you sign up to be a Patreon for Around Comics, You pay your $5 a month, we get like 4 and change or whatever.
Yeah. So so a bunch of creators have now started moving over to that, which is one of the reasons I signed up for it. Also, I like the format, and I'm like, you know what? It gives me an opportunity to write other stuff like reviews or just, sort of post other stuff for Around Comics on there. So that's what I've been doing. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I'm not sure where it's going to all end up or where it's all going to go, but it's sort of an interesting thing that
if it plays towards creative freedom and actually paying creators for the product that they do,
Yeah.
it will be bought up and destroyed by somebody.
Maybe.
Eventually.
Maybe. Well, the interesting thing is you're having more and more creators leave, and like, we've talked about this for years. I mean, it was happening when we first started doing the podcast, the idea of like creators no longer giving their best ideas to Marvel and DC, saving it for their own stuff, creating a name for themselves, creating a brand for themselves, working for Marvel and DC, writing or drawing Spider-Man, Batman, whatever you will. But once you get a big enough name, doing your own stuff through Image usually, that you own, that you own the TV rights to. You're not, creating a character like Gravity.
I was going to say, if Mike and Sean could go back in time and do a Gravity series at Image, they would.
So this is even taking Image out of the picture, where it's directly, you're getting it directly from the creator to the creator, that sort of thing. Now, I think most of them are going, everyone that sort of announced stuff has also said, well, we will publish these at some point. Initially, they will be released online, but we will be publishing that kind of stuff. And I think Donnie Cates and Ryan Stegman just announced, that they're going to be moving over and doing stuff on Substack. And like I said, Scotty's doing I Hate Fairyland, the next volume of it, on Substack first, and then it'll be released. But it's an interesting thing because, and I think it's interesting for us as podcasters because it's also going to sort of, I think, cut into that world of like, promotional, creators going on podcasts and giving away information or promoting their next book or that kind of a thing. You might see less of that because they're going to be more focused on building their own brand through their newsletter, through their Substack channel, if you will, and putting videos up. And I think you've already started to see that. A lot of creators already have their own podcasts. A lot of creators, are going to, maybe do more of that kind of a thing now, as because I think one of the charming things about Substack is like, you're seeing these creators are posting pages of work, but they're also posting stuff about it. They're posting, behind the scenes stuff and sketches and whatever else, all the bonus material that they have, and building excitement and giving more information about it right there to the people that are subscribing. And so it's an interesting thing. And I don't know how it'll change publishing, let alone podcasting, but I think both of those things are going to change a little bit because of this in some way.
It's amazing. I mean, we're as far as comics go, we're part of a very weird generation because we remember probably very early on the drugstore era of comic books, where I started buying comics on a spinner rack. They were still at the 7-Eleven, or I went to the Hubs. Was our convenience store. The specialty market was just kind of coming into existence, whenever we were 10, 12 years old. So we, probably caught the very tail end of like the drugstore, mass market, magazine style, comic book distribution, and then went into the direct market, which is a huge publishing change. And then you get to, the Image, breakup of the big creative talent in the early 90s, and, kind of the, meteoric rise of a lot of, independent publishing. You even go back before that to the black and white boom of the mid 80s. And so now we've got this whole digital revolution and trying to figure out between, like Kickstarter and, and now this. I guess what I'm getting at is it's amazing to see how the publishing and distribution models for comic books have changed so much in the last 40 years. I mean, all the time, constant change.
Well, but I think part of it is the creators like tired of getting fucked. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the driving force behind it is like, why are we giving our best ideas? Why are the creative people, the people that are actually coming up with these stories, actually coming up with these ideas and doing the work, why are they getting the least amount of the lion's share of this stuff? And so I think creators are really tired of that kind of thing. And as the digital world has just given them the ability to cut out the middleman and go directly to their fans and build up a fan base. Now, I still think there's an interesting thing of like, James Tynion IV had been writing comics for quite a while. It wasn't until he started writing Batman that he was able to build up enough notoriety, a name for himself, to then go and do this sort of thing. So I think there's always going to be, that process, but I think it's getting easier and easier to sort of build your own brand, build your audience without that kind of thing, maybe. And at some point, if you start to see like creators just sort of whole cloth creating a career without going to Marvel and DC, which I think you have to some degree.
We have. I mean, who's the gal who outsells every comic book creator ever?
Smile and
I'm just drawing up.
I still have a hard time. I still have a hard time calling that comics. I mean, I understand they are comic books, they are comics, they're cartoons, all that sort of thing. But I think that everybody always brings that up, like the sales numbers of her books, the sales numbers of Dog Man, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But I mean, we both know it's a completely different demographic.
It's a different creature. I think one of the things that you mentioned, I think it was, a definite, sea change in comics is that we remember the time when creators would do their creator owned work, trying to work their way up through those so they could one day write or draw Spider-Man or Batman, and it's like once you did, great Bendis was doing Torso, and, it's in Powers. And
I mean, we had so many guys on in the early days of the podcast that, we found them through independent work, through Image,
Fraction, Jason Aaron,
so many guys.
And
then eventually they became, Marvel and DC staples, and that was how
they went back.
I just think, and then they went back, and now they don't. I mean, look at Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. Like, they don't want anything to do with, but it's, once again, it's getting screwed over. I mean, comic books have a long history of screwing over creators. So this is them trying to get out from underneath that, more and more. And I think the interesting thing to me is also just sort of like, as a fan, I think you kind of get in the habit of like, oh, I really like this creator's work, I'm going to follow this creator. Whatever they do, I'm going to go do. And we've had that for a long time. You know what I mean? Like John Byrne was, one of the early guys, I think, where it's like, Kirby, but Kirby did everything, so maybe that doesn't count. But you know what I mean? Like
Byrne, Paul Smith for me. I'm trying to.
But imagine well, I guess you could, but like imagine, Alan Moore. I'm just going to make comics that you have to subscribe to monthly, and none of the money goes anywhere but to me and the artist.
Done.
Hey, Alan, you maybe you want to make comics again? Like, you don't have to have anyone involved. Nobody owns it.
I don't have to play by your rules anymore.
I mean, but imagine, like, if this existed 20 years ago, could Alan Moore have done, become?
Tell you what, America's First Comics wouldn't have been published through Wildstorm.
Man, would Watchmen? You know what I mean? Like, who knows? It's interesting to sort of. Hey, I want to point out a post. We got a lot of comments right now going.
Good. Thank you, Greg Porter, for the.
Greg Porter He said, I have not read the Unteens, but I just wanted to let you guys know I am so freaking happy you guys are not only back, but seem to be staying back.
I think we made it for a year. I think we're about a year plus.
No, we've actually been doing a couple of years now.
Yeah, we know. Okay.
Yeah, I really look forward to all your posts a lot. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate it as well.
Yeah.
Something happened. Now I can't.
You can't take it away.
I can't get rid of his. Oh,
Yeah.
There we go.
We'll just go through all of. Yeah, there's been quite the. It's speaking of if you Tuesday nights, usually about 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. We started just a wee bit early today because Tom usually starts right at 8 whenever he gets his kids put down. So we start a little early, but yeah, if you want to, you can hop on the YouTubes or the Facebooks and
I love these guys are just talking to each other now. They're not.
It's awesome. Yeah,
talking to us. So that's pretty cool.
Talking about Mike Grell and John Byrne and George Perez and Mike Zeck's a good one. I guess Frank Miller, one of the first. I'm gonna follow this guy no matter what
for me,
kind of guys.
For me, for sure. Yeah. Frank Miller was absolutely one of the first. I mean, his Daredevil stuff was kind of a game changer. I think Howard Chaykin for me was a guy.
Yeah.
American Flag. After that, everything that he was going to do, I would. And if it's interesting because like I haven't signed up for any of these guys' Substacks at this point, and you can sign up as like a monthly or you can sign up for yearly. I think you can actually, some of them you can sign up like a lifetime, like a pay of $300 or something, and you're a lifetime, subscriber or something. But it's like I wonder, like if Mike Zeck or if Howard Chaykin started one and was going to publish their own comics, I'm like, oh, I might have to fucking.
I might have to. I might be a lifelong fan of Howard Chaykin.
It might be interesting to see some of the older guys if they start to sign up for this stuff. Would be kind of built.
You've fucking Neil Adams has been waiting for this his entire life.
Finally, I get to publish my Hollow Earth graphic novella.
Yeah, but his Substack is $300 a month.
A month, yeah, no shit.
Love you, Neil.
And worth every penny.
It would for entertainment value alone. And my Neil Adams sketch is one of my prized possessions. So
I remember that day.
Yeah, I had to negotiate that thing big time.
I mean, for me, it makes so much more sense because honestly, like it's not that it's a rarity, but there are way more Marvel and DC books that get published every week that I don't read, that I'm not interested in than what I am interested in. But there's still creators that I'm very much interested in what they're doing. I posted on Sean Phillips, I think it was his Instagram page. He posted it was something about the last hardcover that they did. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
It's Friend of the Devil.
I think that was it. And I just posted simply, keep making them, I'll keep buying them. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like they've got a third one.
Third one's due in
October. Yeah. And I'll buy it. But if those two started a monthly subscription service for $7 a month and we're putting out short stories every month, I would pay for that for sure. You know what I mean?
Like I love it. It's us growing up, it was for most of the time it was an either or, or both Marvel and DC. And a lot of us were Marvel kids or DC kids, and then you'd maybe read both. I think that was kind of the Frank Miller thing. It's first time I read Batman is because it was Frank Miller doing it, and so it was either or. And then we had the boom in independent comics, and this is just an extension of that. Comics are comics are comics, and whether you want to read Marvel comics or DC comics or Image comics or jump into the full on digital waters with web comics, they're out there, and comics I think are in a really good place right now. There's so much variety. It's like TV. It's impossible for me to keep up with all of the
Oh
good
yeah,
stuff out there.
sure. Well, and that's why, I mean, I've talked about this multiple times. Like it took me a while to get there, but it's like I finally got to a place where it's like, oh yeah, this stuff isn't all for me. Like it doesn't need to be. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff out there that is. Not everything has to be for me. Like,
when did you have that realization? Do you have a comic where you like, oh, this isn't written for me. It's good, but this is not for me, and that's okay.
There is, and I just can't remember what it was. That I do have
Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, see,
Scott Pilgrim.
I like Scott Pilgrim still.
Yeah, but that was written.
Right.
That was written for people 10 years younger than us.
Yeah, for sure, sure. You're right. It was. I don't think I had that moment then when I read Scott Pilgrim, but no, this is probably more recently. It took me a little longer. I'm stubborn. It took me a little longer to get there. You know?
Yeah, but I knew Scott Pilgrim was good and it was fun. But I'm like, oh, this is written for someone 10 years younger than me, and oh, that person is a full ass, grown adult now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not everything has to be for everyone. Like it shouldn't be. Like it's okay that. And I think that's sometimes hard for comic book fans to accept because it's like, oh, well, it's like, like the Tim Drake thing that, this week, and the bisexual announcement or whatever of Tim Drake. And it's like, I'm sure there are people that are upset about that because it's like, well, I've been reading Tim Drake, for years. And it's like, yeah, but do you need to read more Tim Drake? Like, or does that really change anything about Tim Drake for you, being Robin? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, if you don't like it, then find something else you do like.
And they didn't go back and set fire to all of your old Tim Drake comics that you have bagged and boarded and have been, CG scene and all that.
Yeah.
So
I did want to mention something funny. Weird comic book. You had mentioned Frank Miller's Dark Knight. So I was listening to the Conan.
Actually, I mentioned his Batman. I was thinking of year one, but go ahead.
Oh, well, I was listening to Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And he had Michael Keaton on, who's hilarious. Michael Keaton
is awesome.
But they were at one point he was talking about when it was first announced that he was Batman and how people were sort of losing their mind,
freaked out.
Yeah.
Oh my God. If there was an internet in 1988 when that was announced, it would have broken in half. Would have broken in half.
For sure. And he had an interesting take on it. He's like, well, I went into it. He's like, look, we knew we were sort of out on a limb, me and Tim Burton, and we kind of understood that. But what I didn't understand, and sort of at the time, I was sort of like, people think about this that much? Like, there are people that actually think about, like, who is going to be Batman? Like, it seemed like such a foreign thing to me.
Mr. Mom is going to be Bruce Wayne? No.
And he's like, I mean, we knew what we were looking to do. Like, we were, and he mentioned Frank Miller. He mentioned Dark Knight Returns. And he's like, that was sort of the template of Bruce Wayne that we were sort of looking at when we were going at this character. And I kind of, like I said, I just didn't understand that people cared that much about it. He's like, now, going back all these years later and seeing where the industry and where comic books have gone and like how it's completely in the zeitgeist 100% and so many people are into it. He's like, it was a lot different because he's in The Batman, the new The Batman movie.
Yeah.
He's like, it was a lot different going into it. It was an interesting process of going into it all these years later. And he's like, I have a much bigger appreciation for it now than I did then.
Yeah.
As far as just like, oh yeah, a lot of people really care about this. And I get it. It's, you can see, he's like, look where comic books have gone from that moment to now.
And a lot of it, that movie, I think sometimes we discount how incredibly influential that movie was to comics.
Oh, it was groundbreaking.
It was groundbreaking, but I look at the like direct influence that it had in Bruce Timm's Batman animated series. I mean, there's stuff that's taken directly, you know, the film score, you know, a lot of the look and the gothic architecture. I mean, Bruce Timm's Batman the animated series doesn't exist without that movie.
Yeah, and you know, I have to say, I you know, we usually don't shit on comics here or really talk bad about anything. I don't want to talk bad about it, but they recently
the Batman '89 just came out.
And I just didn't understand, like, why would you make that book and not lean heavily into the aesthetic of the original movie? Like, there's
That's
such a
what that movie
strong
was.
Yeah, I mean, you have Tim Burton's visual, you know, representation of Gotham City and Batman and all the, you know, and yet they didn't do that in the comic going, you know, that's called Batman '89.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? What the hell? Why would you not make this basically Tim Burton comic book? Like, it made no sense to me that they wouldn't do that. So I don't know. I just didn't understand. I was really kind of disappointed.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet. I felt like I was leaning hard into the DC this week, so I was gonna go off and read something else. Yeah, I've been reading a lot of DC lately for just some weird reason. It's this stuff coming out that has been appealing to me. I love, you know, the Black Label stuff is just something I find myself always kind of gravitating to.
Going back to Tim Seeley, I'm really looking forward to his Superman versus Lobo Black Label that he's doing. That should be fun. That should be. Joe G says, my wife loved the soundtrack for Burton's Batman.
That was great.
I love the soundtrack. Prince, all the Prince songs on, you know, come on, how do you go wrong?
This is great stuff.
What was the one? What's the one? Shoot. I always remember the moment like where Jack Nicholson is
in the museum, in the art museum, or
no, it's the one where he's on the street and he's like gearing up his giant weird vehicle thing or whatever.
Oh, it's with the the pistol that he keeps you telescoping out the barrel, and he shoots down the Batwing.
Yeah, but he's like, let's give this city an enema, and then he like hits the button and it plays a Prince song, and it's like, and he's dancing, and like, that's weird. That's a really odd.
It's a weird fucking movie, man.
Yeah, it is
It is a weird fucking movie. I love both the first show. I like that, and was it Batman Returns with Michelle Pfeiffer, who's never looked hotter, and DeVito as the Penguin.
The Penguin.
You know, weird Christopher Walken, which I'm sure he dances at some point.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was another. Yeah, the Tim Burton Batman movies, cool, groundbreaking, fucking weird.
Yeah. Well, everything Tim Burton does is weird.
Oh, Joe Gluzik. That's another one that I saw that looks really cool. It's a Fables Batman crossover with Batman versus Big B Wolf.
Yeah, Big B comes to Gotham, I think, is sort of the big bad wolf. Yes, Fables is coming back, by the way.
Fables is coming back.
Yeah, excited about that.
Yeah, good stuff. I'll tell you what, we've overshot our predetermined limit of trying to keep these to about an hour. See, we didn't have Tom here to keep us in line. That's what happens whenever Tom isn't around. So, first of all, to all the folks that joined us in the comments section, love to see that. A lot of fun. Love the interaction. It gives us some extra stuff to talk about, and we get to see what is vibing with you, which is cool. So Greg Porter says, oh wow, I quit Fables after about 10 years or 10 trades. 10 trades in 10 years is what I would say, and I'm right there with you, Greg. I never finished Fables. I need to go. Can't read them
I can
all.
Understand it. It started to
it sagged. It sagged after the end of the big first story.
But I think it got better after a while, and I think it ended pretty strong.
Hey, I stopped reading X-Men after issue 200 and the Trial of Magneto, so that was enough. That told the story.
It's probably where I stopped reading X-Men, somewhere along there.
That's that. Honestly, I think was the perfect end, and done. We're good.
I stopped reading Spider-Man a long time ago.
Yeah, read something here or there. All right, so let's finish this up.
Wrap it up.
We talked plenty about Patreon. If you don't know about that by now, you haven't been listening, so check that out. We've got all sorts of stuff coming up this week. ACTV, Tom versus Sal's Big Geek Show, Origin Story.
Sorry, I wanted to say we have a patron that has subscribed to the higher level, and he's supposed to get. We have 2 now. He's supposed to get an end credit on an episode, but I can't get. I redid the video so that the end credit was there, and I can't get the fucking thing to render. I've tried over and over, so I apologize. It's like the guy's. It's like Johnny Bag of Donuts.
You know what? What we should do is we'll just
hold up a sign.
We're going to hold up a sign, and maybe the next week's episode will be sponsored by and dedicated to him.
Johnny Bag of Donuts, I think was his name, or Dr. Bag of Donuts. Dr. Johnny Bag of Donuts, I think is
Dr. Johnny Bag of Donuts.
Yeah, something like that.
It's a weird like WKRP mashup with another reference probably.
Well, yeah, Bag of Donuts was. Ooh, that's an interesting thing because it was something. Bag of Donuts was a character I think Johnny B used to always refer to. So this guy might be a radio, like an old 80s radio.
Yeah. So probably like Howard Hessman and WKRP and
yeah, maybe.
All right. That's all right. We'll thank you very much for that. Yeah, we'll be back with all sorts of Patreon stuff this week. I'm going to check out the Substack because apparently cool stuff is going on there. And we'll be back for our regular show next Tuesday, live streaming on YouTube, and then released as audio for all the other folks.
Probably Friday for origin stories. Sunday, we almost release something every day. Like at this point, if you're a patron subscriber, like you almost get something every single day. So plenty. If this isn't
hard for that money.
That's right. Well, that's right.
Yes, Joe Gluzik, What If, episode 1. It came out on Monday.
It did. We did. Yeah, we're going to talk about some Titans.
Yeah, stuff. Titans, and we're going to talk a lot about Black Panther.
I did talk about Titans on the last Big Geek show, but I kept it to a specific part of Titans. I didn't talk about like the episodes. It was just a very specific part. So
what episode are you on?
I think I finished the 3.
You're up through the 3. So, like I said, they compressed a lot of comic history in between episodes 1 and 2.
Yeah,
a lot. Yeah. A lot of history there, real fast.
Hey, just cut out the fat, get to the good parts. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. We're going.
I was
right
surprised. I was surprised that it was him. Like,
And were you like, really wow, that was fast?
It was fast. It was. I got what you meant. It was very quick. That he was back. I'm interested to see where it goes because it doesn't seem quite as clear cut as maybe, but it also seems like they're throwing you some red herrings. So
what I figured out about Titans, it doesn't have to go anywhere. It may just not go anywhere.
Maybe. I think it will. I think it's going to go somewhere, but we'll see.
Yeah, so we'll see. All right, we're done. We keep chatting, and next we'll mention Tarantino, and it'll be a 4-hour podcast. We'll be back on Tuesday with another regular episode. In the meantime,
in between time,
we're going to be everywhere in
and around comics.
Everywhere.